Updates, y'all. Welcome back to Street Scores. It's your boy Rico giving y'all a draft edition of Redskins Report. Today's topic, the Redskins projected 2019 draft picks, compensatory included, plus teams with similar needs that picked before us, and in the process, I accidentally give a top 14 picks mock draft, trying to make this as realistic for the Redskins as possible. Let's get it. Here are the Redskins' projected 2019 draft picks, 10 in total. We have the 15th overall pick in the draft, 46th, 76th. Then we're due to get a compensatory pick for Kirk Cousins going to Minnesota. Then we used to have a 4th round pick, but we traded it to Green Bay to get safety Clinton Dix, who is now a free agent. So the pick kind of went poof. Then in the 5th round, we have 2 picks. We have the 15th pick based on our normal draft order. And then we're due a compensatory pick for Spencer Long, who went to the Jets in 2018 free agency. And then in the 6th round, we gave away our 6th round pick to select cornerback Adonis Alexander in the 2018 supplemental draft. But at least we're due a compensatory pick for Ryan Grant going to the Colts in 2018 free agency. And then in the 7th round pick, we get the 13th pick in that round. And like I said, that's 10 projected picks total for the Redskins. Compensatory picks come at the end of each round. Compensatory picks are also assumed, not guaranteed. These projected compensatory picks are based on the patterns we've seen by previous compensatory picks given to teams throughout the year. Now I want to talk about the teams that picked before us, because that will be very important come draft time. Time to run some reconnaissance. For starters, to let y'all know what the Redskins need, the Redskins need a quarterback, possibly, depending on how the whole Alex Smith situation goes, and if we believe in Colt McCoy or Josh Johnson. I personally prefer to wait until next year, unless Dwayne Haskins or Kyler Murray makes it to us at the 15th pick, but I highly doubt it. So I'd prefer to wait till next year to get a franchise quarterback. Then we need a safety. There's almost nobody left. As of right now, we have DeShazier Everett, Monte Nicholson, who was seen knocking somebody out just a few weeks ago, and then rookie, very raw, and injured reserve, Troy Apke. And then we definitely need a receiver. That's obvious. Definitely need an edge rusher, whether Preston Smith stays or not. But if he leaves, we definitely need one. Definitely should get a left guard. This Sean Laval thing, I'm personally tired of it. I feel we should also get a cornerback, but it's not an immediate must get in the first round need. And it would also be nice to have a good playmaking linebacker just in case Reuben Foster either gets himself in trouble or gets hurt. Because Zach Brown may not come back, and Mason Foster is not it for the starting role. He's good, but not good as we need. The league is shifting to linebackers that can cover and move very well laterally to cover ground, and Mason Foster does not excel in those areas. Now moving on to the first team drafting in the 2019 draft. The Cardinals, with the first pick, have some similar needs to us. They also need an interior lineman, wide receiver, edge rusher, and cornerback. They are very likely to take Nick Bosa, though, arguably the best player in the draft, period, or at least the best player available at the second most important position in football. People have been talking about them trading Josh Rosen away and drafting Kyler Murray because of Cliff Kingsbury. That is highly unlikely, though. That wouldn't even make much sense to me, especially with Kyler Murray being a generous 5'10". I would love to have Nick Bosa, but there's no way he makes it to the Redskins' 15th pick. So even though they have similar needs to ours, they aren't really a threat to us in the draft, because the Redskins staff know that Nick Bosa is out of reach. If the Cardinals don't take him, somebody will. But who knows? The Cardinals may take a great trade package full of first and other top 3 round picks if another team wants to move up to the first pick to get a quarterback like Haskins or Kyler Murray, if he actually declares. The 49ers also need an edge rusher, cornerback, safety, interior offensive lineman, wide receiver, and linebacker, just like us. They need edge rusher more than the Cardinals do, though. Edge rusher isn't one of the Cardinals' biggest needs, but Nick Bosa is that good. But it's a different story for the 49ers. They clearly need an edge rusher, and Josh Allen is the best edge rusher available after Nick Bosa. So I'm assuming they will take him. And even though I would really hope he could somehow slide to our 15th pick, it's almost impossible. I'm just assuming no game-changing edge rusher will be available when our pick comes up. As I previously mentioned, they are the second most important position in football. So the only players who take priority over them are quarterbacks. And this is a very weak quarterback class, especially compared to last year's. We have to worry that the 49ers may take a great defensive back or linebacker off the board here, but it will more than likely be an edge rusher. Yet another team that needs an edge rusher very badly, the New York Jets. They need an edge rusher, offensive lineman, wide receiver, and running back. Based on the level of talent that will more than likely be available if Nick Bosa and Josh Allen go in the first 2 picks, I'm assuming that the Jets will go with offensive tackle Jonah Williams, edge rusher Clelin Ferrell, or a wide receiver like DK Metcalf, N'Keal Harry, or Kelvin Harmon. But my money is on Jonah Williams. I'm confident in Clelin Ferrell going very early in the draft though. After the national championship game, that rose his draft stock up quite a bit. But if I had to pick, I'd say Jonah Williams, especially if they want to make sure this Sam Darnold thing works. They can get a receiver in the second round for him to throw to, but building an offensive line can give your team the Colts type of path to success. They went from 4-12 to winning a playoff game in just one season, mostly because they finally gave their franchise quarterback some protection. I can see the Jets going this route. It is hard to project an offensive tackle going 3rd in the draft, but it all depends on how much the Jets really care about Sam Darnold and how much they want to make this work, especially with a new head coach. Another team with an edge rusher need, the Oakland Raiders. They needed one before they even traded away Khalil Mack. Now they really need one, especially with Bruce Irvin going to the Falcons mid-season. The Raiders also need a cornerback, safety, linebacker, wide receiver, tight end, and running back. It looks like Clelin Ferrell may go here, but defensive linemen Quinnen Williams and Ed Oliver are very talented. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those two went at this pick. But I feel like Clelin Ferrell may go here, mostly because of how he showed out at the national championship game. He had one of his best games against one of the best offensive lines he's ever faced. When the lights came on and everybody was watching, he had one of his best games, even though it was against great competition. So I can definitely see Clelin Ferrell going in the top 4, and to a team like the Raiders that really need him. Next team up is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with their new coaching staff, Bruce Arians, Todd Bowles. I would think they may need a quarterback with how things went with Jameis and Fitzpatrick last year, but Bruce Arians, the new head coach, has already claimed Jameis as his guy. So they're going to make this work and draft for other positions. The other needs are cornerback, offensive line, edge rusher, and even running back with how Ronald Jones turned out. And with how Vita Vea turned out last season, they may go and get Quinnen Williams or Ed Oliver, but I doubt it. They would have been way better off getting Derwin James last year and then getting Quinnen Williams this year. But that's in the past. Fate already sealed. But I see them taking cornerback Greedy Williams here. Their defensive back need is big, and here's a great man cover corner with size, but is also fluid and quick somehow. My boy DeAndre Baker from UGA is the best zone coverage corner in the draft, but the Buccaneers need a shutdown, put him on an island corner right here. Now the New York Giants, one of the enemies. Even though they said they are comfortable with going forward with Eli Manning for at least another year, I'd be surprised if they don't take Dwayne Haskins here if he slid this far down the draft with nobody trading up. But the Giants also need players in the trenches on both sides. Safety, especially if they don't bring back Landon Collins. Cornerback, to fill the Eli Apple hole of him going to the Saints, and linebacker. And I'd be surprised if Quinnen Williams and Ed Oliver made it this far. The Jets, even though defensive lineman isn't one of their needs, will probably take one of these 2 players with the 3rd overall pick. But here we are. I have them still being available for the Giants at the 6th pick. Dwayne Haskins won't be picked if they truly feel they can run with Eli for another year. And he actually did look pretty good in the second half of the season, even without Odell for some of those games. But if I were them, I'd definitely take Haskins and move on from Eli. Let Eli go out on a good note. The Jacksonville Jaguars need a quarterback very bad. They also need a tight end, edge rusher, wide receiver, and interior offensive lineman. If they are serious about getting rid of Leonard Fournette, then they will need a running back too. But no matter what, QB will be their biggest need. I can definitely see them trading up in the draft to take somebody. But at this point, with Haskins gone and them keeping the 7th pick, they will either take Daniel Jones for his size and traits, or they will take Kyler Murray for everything but his size and then work on his deep ball accuracy. If it were my team though, I'd want Kyler Murray. So I'm going to assume they will take Kyler Murray. He is a playmaker. He's not exactly as accurate as Baker Mayfield, but it's a pretty close comparison. So there goes another player the Redskins would love to have. The Detroit Lions need an edge rusher, cornerback, linebacker, tight end, wide receiver, and safety, just like us, other than the tight end. And it's very crazy that Quentin Williams, arguably a top 3 player in this draft, is still available, but teams in the top 8 just have much larger needs in other positions. But some team may take best player available over need, but for me, I'm guessing that he and Ed Oliver will make it this far and still not get picked. Some people are very high on LSU linebacker Devin White. Some people are relatively low on him too, as in like late first round pick. I'm very high on him. I feel like the Lions will make this move right here, make the Redskins' chances of getting a great linebacker in this draft even slimmer. It's not many of them. Plus, I'm hoping we can go with Sean Dion Hamilton and Reuben Foster, with Mason Foster as the backup, and maybe Zach Brown if they keep him. Even though it would be way cheaper to just go ahead and release Zach Brown now. But yeah, I definitely see the Lions, who need a lot of defensive help, taking the best linebacker in the draft, Devin White, out of LSU, and taking one off the Redskins draft board. The Buffalo Bills need a wide receiver, edge rusher, offensive lineman, cornerback, running back, tight end, and interior defensive lineman. And I'm torn between projections. Either a wide receiver so that Josh Allen can at least have one guy to throw to next year, but then they will also love some defensive line help, and Quentin Williams and Ed Oliver are still available, which leads me to projecting them taking Williams. He's just too talented to escape the top 10, no matter what anybody's needs are. Shoot. If he slid to us at 15, even though we have needs everywhere but defensive line, we might even take him. He's that talented. Easily a top 3 player in this draft. Great value here for the Bills. They are very likely to mess up what the Redskins have going on with hoping to draft a great receiver in the first round. They could take DK Metcalf or N'Keal Harry or Kelvin Harmon and make it hard on us, but they also need offensive help to protect their franchise quarterback, and Jawan Taylor is still out there. But I just can't see Quentin Williams making it past this pick. And with the Redskins not needing defensive line help, this pick would make us happy. The Denver Broncos need a quarterback, cornerback, tight end, wide receiver, and offensive lineman. They could very possibly crush our dreams and take another quarterback off the board, or even hurt our souls by taking wide receiver DK Metcalf. But I see them very possibly taking a premier corner, like the best slot corner in the draft, Byron Murphy, and that would also hurt my soul. The Redskins need a slot corner something serious. I like Fabian Moreau on the outside better than in the slot, and Quentin Dunbar may come back, but if he does, he is definitely an outside corner, which leaves a hole there for us. Greg Stroman may be able to fill that hole, but I'm not confident in it. If the Broncos truly select Byron Murphy, that's another great prospect at a Redskins need taken off the Redskins board. Sad, but very likely a reality. The Cincinnati Bengals need defensive linemen and an offensive tackle, linebacker, tight end, with Tyler Eifert being a free agent in 2019 and having an extensive injury history. They also need a cornerback and maybe even a quarterback, with them finally getting a new head coach who may want to draft their own guy and start fresh. But I see them letting the Redskins Nation excel a little bit by selecting arguably the most talented player left on the board, and that is defensive lineman, more than likely 3-tech, Ed Oliver with this pick. Generational player with a lot of upside and everything you want, but ideal size. He isn't as small at defensive lineman as Kyler Murray is at quarterback, but his size is still a little bit of a worry. But he not only has the traits to make up for it, he also has the production to show that he can. And as a Redskins fan, the more defensive linemen to go in the top 14 picks, the better for us. The Green Bay Packers need a safety, edge rusher, offensive lineman, wide receiver, and tight end. With safeties Deontay Thompson and Nasir Adderley still on the board, I could see the Packers hating on the Redskins and taking one of them. I could also see the Packers breaking our hearts and taking edge rusher Brian Burns, Ja'Kai Polite, or Montez Sweat. They could also take one of those wide receivers I brought up earlier, which would also hurt us. But I see them taking one of those diddly pass rushers, and in my opinion, the best one left is Brian Burns from Florida State, which is killer for us. Just 3 picks away, and somebody that we would love to have at the 15th pick just flies off the board. But I'm just trying to be as realistic as possible so I can know what realistic options the Redskins have at 15. And I can definitely see Brian Burns being taken before the Redskins have an opportunity to take him. With the 13th pick, the Miami Dolphins need a quarterback bad enough to where they may trade up for one. But if they don't, they may get desperate enough to take Drew Lock, who isn't a sure thing at all, and I would not want him in the first half of the first round. He has a lot of traits and size, but lacks a lot of intangibles and accuracy and has inconsistent decision making. But unless they want to wait another year for better quarterback prospects and go with Ryan Tannehill for another year, and then fill another one of their needs like interior offensive lineman, defensive lineman, edge rusher, safety, or wide receiver. But if this scenario were to pan out, no trades, no changes, then I strongly believe they would take a quarterback here, strongly decreasing the chances of the Redskins taking a quarterback in the first round. I can definitely see Drew Lock going before the Redskins even have a chance to pick him. But even at the 15th pick, I don't want Drew Lock. He's not that good. I definitely prefer to throw Colt McCoy, Josh Johnson, and Alex Smith out there on one leg and then wait till next year to get far better quarterback talent than to take Drew Lock now and be stuck in an ugly quarterback situation for even longer. And then the last pick before us, the 14th pick, the Atlanta Falcons, need offensive lineman, an edge rusher, interior defensive lineman, and a linebacker. I can see them taking edge rusher Montez Sweat, edge rusher Ja'Kai Polite, offensive lineman Cody Ford, linebacker Mac Wilson, one of them Clemson defensive linemen, or Derek Brown, or Raekwon Davis. But I see them doing us a big favor and taking a defensive lineman, but not one of the ones I just mentioned. I see them taking Jeffrey Simmons out of Mississippi State. Luckily for us, not a player at a position that we need. And then if they take Jeffrey Simmons, that will leave us with a lot of talented players left on the board for the Redskins to choose from. And let's get into that. So with the top 14 picks I projected, there will be a lot of good remaining talent out there. The best talent to me in the first category is wide receiver DK Metcalf, safety Deontay Thompson, and safety Nasir Adderley. Then people who I feel that we could definitely take, but they're just not the most exciting players to take with the 15th pick, are edge rusher Ja'Kai Polite and my boy DeAndre Baker out of UGA. And then there's some reaches out there that I could see the Redskins taking, but I really hope they don't. And that's quarterback Daniel Jones, wide receiver A.J. Brown, edge Montez Sweat, inside linebacker Mac Wilson, wide receiver Kelvin Harmon, and inside linebacker Devin Bush. And then there's players out there that are still very talented, but they play a position that we don't exactly need right now. And that's defensive end Rashawn Gary, offensive tackle Jawan Taylor, defensive tackle Raekwon Davis, running back Josh Jacobs, tight end Noah Fant, defensive lineman Draymond Jones, and defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence. And then there's the don't lose hope category. These are the people that may slide to the 15th pick. Contrary to my projections, because I definitely don't feel like it's perfect, these players may make it to the Redskins 15th pick depending on how things pan out. Like for example, Kyler Murray, a lot of people may be really afraid of his lack of size and height, and he may slide to the 15th pick. Or if teams get very quarterback greedy, like which usually happens when the draft actually arrives, like before the draft, everybody's like, oh, these quarterbacks suck. It's only a couple of good ones. And then come draft time, 5 quarterbacks taken in the top 15 pick. So you never know, which would allow somebody like cornerback Greedy Williams, inside linebacker Devin White, slot cornerback Byron Murphy, and edge Brian Burns to possibly slide to the Redskins at the 15th pick. Now the other people like Quinnen Williams, Nick Bosa, and Josh Allen, I highly doubt they will make it to the Redskins in the 15th pick, so they should not be on this board. But with that information, and with all of the players that I projected to be available when we pick, should the Redskins trade down and get multiple high-round picks, some late first, early seconds, get 2 or 3 of these talented players still on the board rather than just getting one of them who we could possibly get later anyway? Or should the Redskins trade up and get somebody generational, franchise changing? One of those generational edge rushers, or maybe a quarterback prospect like Dwayne Haskins or Kyler Murray? Or get the lockdown cornerback of the future? Or should the Redskins just stay where we are and see what we can do from there? But that's it for this draft edition episode of Redskins Report. Thanks for the view. I'm going to keep bringing y'all occasional updates on what the Redskins organization is doing throughout this entire offseason from December to August. This will include roster moves, draft prospects, mock drafts, scouting reports, all kinds of stuff. I got y'all back, and make sure y'all Dolomite Fake punch that like button while you're here. Favorite, please subscribe if you haven't. Please subscribe, helps a lot. I will definitely subscribe back. And most importantly, please comment and share. And again, thank y'all for the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.